What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of 49ers Unfiltered. I am Aaron of 49ers First Takes. With me is Mike of SF Gold Rush. A lot of news to cover today, Mike. I did not think a random Monday in March would have so much to talk about.
Yeah,
But
we got
we got the league meetings going
the
on. Yeah, I was waiting for like this week's show to be like postponed till next week because there just wasn't much happening. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden we have this huge news dump on Monday. So how you feeling?
Good. The three-headed monster all talked, the last 2 days. So excited to get some tidbits. I think some of the national media or even some of the beat writers actually asked some decent questions this time. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it was cool to just see them talk and just to see, where they think the team is and just their demeanor too. I think that says a lot. If they seem stressed out about, where the team is at or, you know, but I think it was good. We got a couple of tidbits out of it.
Yeah, I don't sense a lot of stress right now, to be honest with you, but it is also March. But I think this
Yeah.
is a different feeling this off season.
Yeah.
Um, the, something that was brought up yesterday and into today was the Trent Williams contract situation. It seems like talks are starting to intensify towards a deal, which is something that I think is really non-news because they didn't really have another option. We've talked about this on every week's show. We've talked about this on the Cover 3 podcast. So we're just going to touch on it briefly. And just the Trent Williams contract is under, they're doing it. Hopefully they could get it done before the draft. I just, I'm interested to see, Mike, what this contract's going to entail. Like the
Yeah.
Niners have to protect themselves somewhat. You know what I mean? Regardless of how desperate they are, there's got to be some provisions in there that help them out just in case, he can't finish his contract or he decides to leave after 1 year or whatever, gets injured and can't come back. I think the biggest thing that we're down with them is just like it's a lot of money for a guy who's 38 years old. And but from what I've seen from other content creators, they seem to think that the Niners will not address offensive tackle until he's not here anymore. Like that doesn't even come up on their radar in the offseason to talk about.
That's what I get out of it. I mean, all I got out of the Trent Williams things from John Lynch was breaking news. There's no breaking news, right?
There's
Like
no breaking news.
it's nothing's changed. They're in negotiations, and as time gets closer to camp and all that stuff, that's when pressure gets on and something will get done. I get you when you're saying that they need to do something to protect themselves. I don't see Trent as that kind of guy. He's going to want a lot of guaranteed money regardless, but who knows how it's going to shape out. But all in all, it's the Niners' fault. They backed themselves into this corner. They had multiple years to prepare for Trent Williams' departure, and they chose not to address it whatsoever. Not even like a backup squad, like practice squad dude, just in case Trent leaves. They're like, no, we're not even going to pretend that he's going to leave anytime soon. So Trent's taking advantage of it, and I mean, you can't really get mad at him.
Nope.
So it's the Niners' fault, man. It is what it is, and they will probably end up paying in the bag. And from what Kyle seems, Kyle's like, yeah, I love Trent. I want him back, and I don't think he's going to go anywhere. He better not. This season's a disaster.
I feel like the Niners hint at a lot of change every single offseason, but it never really happens until it actually happens. Check to see if your microphone is actually selected. Sound a little echoey. Try to help you out. Sorry, I didn't mean to embarrass you.
Oh, let's see. That's why Aaron is Aaron.
Yeah, baby. There we go.
All right. Testing.
Nice.
Testing.
All right,
There we go. Cool.
One of the other things that was brought up as we transition was the fact that there will be no changes to the training staff, as me and Mike wanted, but they are throwing $9 million at it for their recovery part of their health, their rehab and recovery part of their training staff. And John talked about how essentially the Substation thing was a nothing burger and nothing came out of it, and it didn't affect free agency signing. I think for me, why the Substation thing got more traction than it did was the simple fact that we've had so many injuries over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So anybody like myself or you are like, we got to attach it to something, right? Because it doesn't seem normal that we can have all these injuries every single year and like nobody seems bothered by it. Nobody seems upset about it. What's your take on John essentially saying we are addressing things with the health staff, maybe for recovery, but other than that, everything's going to stay status quo?
Well, I'm glad. I'm gonna take a little victory lap here because I put it out on X and I tagged most of all the beat writers, and I wanted somebody to ask this exact question, right? Like, I didn't want them to just let John and Kyle get away from this without it being addressed. I didn't really care about the substation. I really wanted to know about the training staff and the facility. So yes, it was asked. It's good that they're making improvements. Throw $9 million at it. They're adding a couple more people because I guess one of the complaints was there wasn't enough staff.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they can add more incompetent staff to the staff they
Yeah.
already have. So that's a positive. The substation, like you said, Aaron, I think people are they're gonna tie whatever. There could have been a Walmart across the street, and people would have been like, "Hey, is there a correlation with Walmart, being close to the practice facility? Like, why are they getting so injured?" To me, I don't care. Most of these guys aren't even there long enough anyway for any major damage to happen if there is whatever. But put that away. I don't care. As long as they upgrade the training facility and make the guys more comfortable, whatever helps. Even if it's 1% better, right?
Yeah, I was surprised that they even did what they did, to be honest with you. The substation thing to me, I was kind of hoping there was something to it. You know what I mean? And that they would make a drastic
you need an
move.
explanation, right?
Right. They would make a drastic move, like something that would get someone like me and you to shut up talking about injuries would be if like they did something catastrophic, like, no, we're getting rid of everybody.
Yeah.
We're bringing in a health staff from, I don't know, rugby or something to help guys recover. Be like, oh, you're going to help those guys recover. That'd be great. But they still haven't done that. It's they try to chalk it up to bad luck and all that stuff, and I don't want to believe in that. Like, it's just bad luck. Like,
not when it's 10 years in a row, right?
Yeah, bad luck is like something happened in maybe 2-3 years in a row, not a decade.
Yeah.
And I get, it's amazing how much heat I got again during the season, and I'm sure you got talking about it on X, like bringing up injuries all the time. But it was like anytime me and you made like a reaction video to a game, especially last year, I remember you saying things like, "Oh, the Niners win the game," but unfortunately, was always followed by unfortunately.
We lost 3 more starters.
We lose every game that would end, we'd lose 3 more starters.
Yeah.
And I remember getting people like so mad at me, like, why do you bring that upon us? I'm like, I'm not bringing it upon us. Like, I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's pissed off about it. Papa J say it was Temu equipment that they're using.
Equipment. Yep. Love it.
Right out of the Temu handbook. Oh, man. I wouldn't be surprised, guys. Seriously, like, it's nice, though, that they did something. I'm glad they addressed it in some form or fashion. It's just too bad it's taken this long to do it. But hey, it's better than nothing. It's at least it's something that we could say like, hey, they put. I mean, when you get the grades from the players and the players give you maybe I'm gonna assume they talk to the players and we're like, what do you guys mean? Like, what's this grade for? And they might have just said, we need more trainers, we need more attention. And so they went out and they, instead of having the Three Stooges back there, they got the Three Stooges plus 2 working on these players.
Well, they need more staff because there's so many injured players that the staff there can't handle all of them. They need reinforcements.
Yeah, they have so many people missing, or so many people injured all the time that it's just not enough. But yeah, that was one of the biggest things that happened, and I'm glad that happened because it needed to happen. And now it's just a matter of what can they do, hopefully this season that they didn't do last season, stay healthier.
Yeah.
Because they brought in a lot of older players this offseason, which we all talked about the last couple of weeks. Like, we're happy Mike Evans is here. We're happy a guy like Christian Kirk's here for a short time to help with things as, this offense starts to transition eventually maybe to some other players that are coming through the draft or something. But that's the price you pay when you go with older guys, is that you have to worry about injuries. So glad they did something about it. Kind of sick of talking about it, but it always makes for easy content to make fun of and to put up on the little tab on the side of let's talk about injuries, because it's always something to talk about. But speaking of injuries, a guy who gets injured a lot, Joey Bosa. Mm-hmm. John Lynch made a comment about how Mama Bosa would love to have Joey and her son Oh my God, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa play together. John's exact words were, we might not be able to afford Joey Bosa. I poo-pooed the Joey Bosa idea from the start anyways. I know you were a little bit more like you wouldn't mind it so much. And I said that, yeah, we were talking about them being frugal last week and that they kind of play the, I'll give you less money to come here because of our tradition and what we do every single year. But in this case, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them going with that route because I'm not overpaying for Joey Bosa. Not at this point in his career.
No, yeah, you can't overpay for Joey Bosa. I just see it as a need that they have to fill still. And I don't think you can just fill it in the draft. I think you have to do both. I think you need one guy who's a veteran that can come in and help out. And you also need somebody, a high pick in the draft. I think they need two defensive ends to come in because you cannot rely on Nick Bosa, right? He's coming off his third ACL. You can't just say, okay, Nick is penciled in there, and then we'll have Samo and a draft pick. Like, no, that's probably not going to work. You need another pass rushing defensive end, not a Mykel Williams, not a run stuffer. You need a pass rusher because obviously we saw what happened once Nick went down last year. Our defense literally went to shambles. So if they don't want to, I don't know. I think they need to address it with at least two.
Yeah, they need at least two players to come in here and be part of that. I mean, Keon White is in the building. I know he doesn't really excite a lot of people, but he is an edge. So there's that. But we need at least two more.
Not good enough, Aaron. It's not good enough.
I would draft an edge early, and I would draft an edge in the 4th round too. I wouldn't care. I'm not against overpacking one position in the draft this year because if anything was blatantly obvious last year is we didn't get any pressure on the quarterback. That turns into not a lot of turnovers. That turns into not being able to stop anybody. That turns in people, and then teams are running the ball on us too last year. So it was like we weren't really stopping anybody. If teams are not scoring and doing things, it was usually them making their own mistakes. There's nothing that the Niners defense did last year that made you go, wow, it was a really good, impressive stop by the 49ers. Like, they weren't great at tackling. They didn't really stop the run all too well, at least not to the point where I think it was noticeable. I know some people will give you oh, they only give up this many yards per carry and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but when you watch the game, it's definitely something that's a problem. And then when it came to the pass rush, there was nothing. Like, guys would just stand back there and scan. Like, that game against the Rams early in the season where they just blew our doors off was so predictable on so many levels.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like, man, we talked about it. Go ahead.
It was frustrating because, obviously the biggest need, John even said it, earlier. What was the meeting that he had before the owners meeting? Like, I can't remember.
I think it was at the Combine.
Combine?
Yeah.
Yeah, Combine. And he was like, hey, we got to go sack the quarterback. But they didn't add any edge rushers.
Still.
You know what I mean? Like, so what do you mean? He's like, yeah, the main thing we got to do is we got to go sack the quarterback. Well, you didn't add anybody. Yeah, you added Osa up the middle, but that's going to help, a different part. But you need edge, and they didn't address it. That's why I'm very frustrated with their plan so far.
Be interesting to see what they're going to do. They have to draft one or two. What's the plan though? Like, is there a free agent guy that they're looking at? Are they going to bring in a guy like, oh my God, from the Saints, a short term? Yeah, like Dre was really poo-pooing on that idea because he's like, oh, he's really old. He is really old, but so is Joey Bosa. Maybe not as old as Cam Jordan, but Joey Bosa has a checkered injury history, just like his brother, right? So I'd rather bring in a guy who's 5 years older for 1 year, who is going to get at least close to 10 sacks, right? Even at his advanced age, he's never really unhealthy. And then adding young guys on top of it. So, and no one says that the veteran guy has to be a starter long-term during the season. He could just be a placeholder.
And you need a rotational pass rusher, right? Not a guy who's going to start every down. You need a guy to come in on passing downs.
And the Niners defensive line is pretty young other than Nick Bosa. Like, if you look at that Niners defensive line, they're pretty youthful,
Yeah.
So, they haven't done anything on the edge, at all.
No, that's what's so frustrating. Like, dude, we had a historic low number of sacks, and you didn't address edge. Like, what?
Where's the trade? Are we going to trade for Renard from the Vikings? Are they going to do something with that? I would love to see something like that. future picks.
Yeah.
Bring him in here. All of this, he automatically becomes your best edge rusher.
If they can't afford Joey Bosa, I don't know if they can afford Renard. Right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I want to see what they're going to do with this pass rush as we get closer to the season. As of now, I'm not impressed, but things can change. We didn't think that they were going to sign anybody in free agency. And they've done quite a bit. I actually have a clip of Kyle talking about, it's a really short clip. It's just him talking about the 49ers and what they've added so far in free agency.
I feel good about where the roster is. I mean, it was definitely a better offseason, I think, than the year prior. I mean, the year prior was tough, just losing all those guys. We still lost a number of guys this year, but we also added a number. And still have the draft ahead of us, but I love where we're at now. I love the moves that we've made, and looking forward to making some more here in the draft.
There you go. He's gonna. Looks like that. Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Hey. There we go. Yeah, they did make moves. They did make a lot of moves. That's good. Now they need to make even more before the draft.
Yeah.
I want to see at least one edge rusher. I don't even care who it is. Just give me a body.
They need it. You can't go in with Samo, Keon White, and Nick Bosa as your.
What do you think about Leonard Floyd coming in here?
Oh, that's so depressing. It
is so bad.
Depressing. That's not what. Oh.
That would be horrible. Yeah, Myles Garrett is never going to happen, guys. I know Mike. I know Mike talked about it on his channel, and you talked about it as something that he would love to see, but knows it's not going to take place. I would love for that to happen. And we made this comment on the Cover 3 podcast on Friday with the guys that said, if you're going to give anything away for any player, Myles Garrett is the guy.
Yes,
because he's a future Hall of Fame pass rusher. There's not anybody like even the Grenard trade. If somebody was like, "Hey, it's going to cost you more picks and this, that, and the other, but Myles Garrett is available. What do you think?" I'm like, absolutely. I mean, dude, he's one of the best pass rushers in the modern game. He's probably better than Bosa at this point in his career. Oh, like he's not a Hall of Fame. He's a game wrecker. We were talking about this on Friday.
We gave up 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance. You're telling me you wouldn't trade that for Myles Garrett?
Absolutely, I would.
Like, send it.
And how often is Myles Garrett injured?
Never. And how often is a player of Myles Garrett caliber available?
Never. I don't want the Niners to ever give away any picks or anything unless it's a player that I know is like on the verge of like having, like the Dion move in the early 90s. Like you make that move, you figure out a way to make it, you pay them, and then you worry about the repercussions after the fact. Absolutely. Like that would be the only move that I would say like, oh my God, they're bringing him in and then Nick's coming back and then maybe they draft another edge player. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, okay. We go from it being a weakness to a superb strength. So, man, but I don't know. Kenny says, too many pass rushers in the draft are small, short arms, small hands, lightweight, unfortunately. Yeah, but they're cheap and you can get multiple of them. So I don't know. And they don't have, if they don't have an injury history, they need to come here. It's not the opposite. If somebody has an injury history, I come to the 49ers. Like, no. If you have any type of injury history in college, do not come to my team. Get away. I don't want you here. I'm so sick of it. I'm so annoyed by it. There was a point that they were talking about. I know John was talking about it. Or was it John or Kyle? I forget exactly, but they were talking about the Bills made a better offer for the 49ers. But Mike Evans chose the 49ers. I know we crap on the Niners all the time. What do you say about that when a player had an opportunity to go make more money in a place with a quarterback like, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And decided, you know what? I'm going to go to California. I'm going to get taxed to hell. But I'd rather play with Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan and have a chance to go because I know they're going to put a roster on the field that at least is going to give them a chance to compete before injuries set in. What do you think about that?
I think that speaks incredible volumes about Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. Because remind you, Mike Evans didn't only turn down Josh Allen. He also turned down Baker Mayfield, who had a pretty damn good, last couple seasons as well.
Yes, he did.
And so he turned down Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen to come play with Kyle and Brock and get taxed to hell, like you said. So, I mean, I think it speaks volumes. It just shows you what the rest of the league, the inner circles of the league, think about Kyle and Brock, and the mastermind that's behind him. And I think, Mike thinks he can really flourish in this offense, and maybe he had to get sold a little bit by George Kittle. But I think it just speaks volumes. I don't think people are talking about that enough, like who he turned down to come play with. You know what I mean?
Papa J says he's off of Bible study. God bless everybody. That's a great attitude.
Mhm.
That's great. We need more of that in the chat.
Yeah.
No more fighting. We're on the same side. Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great. It says a lot about the organization. Like we criticize them, right? Me and you.
Yeah.
We're really hard to please. We're kind of like old school. Like we haven't won in 30 years. Nothing you do is good enough. But at the same time, like the Niners, even like my brother, from his perspective, being a Dolphins fan, he's like, your team has got a really great reputation. People speak glowingly about your organization. There's always like the Niners don't have a stigma, say like other teams like the Raiders or the Browns or other organizations that don't pay, or they got people in ownership that maybe have a shady side as far as like they only hire certain coaches that look a certain, that are a certain color or something. You know what I mean? Like there's guys like that own teams in the NFL
They
who
don't
are
take
like
care of their players and
they don't take care of their players. They're maybe they're a little on the prejudice side, whatever. There's organizations out there and they have owners like that in this league, and at least, whatever we say about the Niners during the season and all the criticism we make, the one thing I could actually say is like the Niners are thought of as one of the better teams in the NFL, and a lot of players from the outside always speak glowingly about them. Now, that needs to translate into things. That's all good and dandy. And I'm glad that the Niners have that sort of, rapport within the league, but that doesn't mean that, that's all great. But like, we still got to pay for players. They still got to come here. We still got to draft. We got to do all those things.
Super Bowls, Aaron.
Yeah, all that goodwill is great, but it doesn't win games. So it's cool to be thought of in that way. I'm glad he made the decision to come here. But at the same time, like, we got to go win. We got to figure out a way to stay healthy this year with all these grandpas on the roster, especially on offense. We have such an old offense. Oh my God. Yeah. But if they stay healthy, there's a lot of depth. Especially if a guy like Pearsall stays healthy, which I have my doubts about that, but I'm hopefully proved wrong. And, everyone can throw it in my face during the season and tell me how much of a horrible fan I am, that I criticize him so much. But Kenny said that Kenny 49ers says the Dolphins get to do a real rebuild. It's exciting, Kenny, but it's also kind of pathetic because they're in that bad of a place. Like they're only exciting if they end up working down the line, like where you make all the right draft picks, you make the good free agent signings, you have the right coaches and everything. Well, we're not going to know what this particular group with this GM in Miami and this coach are going to be for about 3 years. I know next year's draft is they said the best quarterback drafts ever.
Oh, wow.
So the Dolphins, if they're smart, don't win a bunch of games this year. Suck hard.
Why they blew up everything, right?
Yeah, suck hard, and then get into the top 10 as close to the number 1 pick as possible, and go get yourself a franchise quarterback and do it the right way.
Do we play the Dolphins this year?
I'm not sure.
Dang it.
I hope we do, so we can beat their ass.
Yeah.
That'd be the year that we go to play them and they beat us, and my brother's like, "What we said? What?" No, I'm not sure. One other thing that was talked about as we moved down the line of topics was the left guard spot. The 49ers, of course, let me bring my notes up in here. They brought in Brett Toth at center, of course. I'm trying to think of the other player that they brought in here as well. And of course, the offensive lineman that they brought in recently, Robert Jones, to play left guard. John Lynch said that left guard is going to be a competition and that he's not done adding to the position, whether it's be free agency or the draft. So, Mike, you wanted it to be a real position to fight for, like a competition. You didn't want to just say, "Oh, we're bringing in these like street guys that are okay, but they're not great. They're not done with it yet. So that you got one wish right so far in this offseason.
Well, can they hit on the draft? That's the question.
That's the question.
If they hit on the draft, okay, cool. You address the offensive line, and it will be a little bit better, sure. But you can't tell me that they are adding to the offensive line and making it better when they're bringing in a guard to come compete with Jake Brendel at center. Like, do you have an electrician come fix your busted pipe? No. Bring in a center to compete with Jake Brendel to play center, not a guard.
You're talking about that. You're talking about Toth.
Toth, yeah. So like, yeah, they're adding pieces, whatever. And I put out on X today, like Jennifer Lee Chan asked Kyle something along the lines of, oh, how do you feel? You guys are adding to your offensive line, and Kyle's like, oh yeah, we definitely needed the depth. Like, no, you need new starters. You don't need depth. You didn't lose to Seattle. Seattle didn't beat the shit out of you because you didn't have enough depth on the offensive line. It was because your center is fucking horrible, and your left guard couldn't do anything, and the rest of the offensive line just sucked. So you're not really making it better. You're just adding warm bodies for camp.
Yeah, Kenny seems to think we need to get a center in the 4th round, which I'm fine with.
Don't worry, Kenny. We have a guard to compete.
Kenny, you know what's going to end up happening? They're going to end up drafting one with the last pick, and then Jed York's going to tweet about it. Tell us that we're bringing in an offensive lineman.
Trenches.
I wouldn't be surprised if they go the whole draft and they do not pick one offensive lineman.
Yeah, I would be I would not be shocked whatsoever.
I'm saying this right now for you guys in the chat. Don't be surprised if the whole draft happens and we don't pick one offensive lineman. And John's going to tell you, well, the position we were on the board, we just couldn't justify in reaching for a player. And it's like, well, then why didn't you add
believe in our guys and they're going to be good and this and that. And Matt Miller actually had a mock draft, right? And he predicted 2 offensive linemen within the first 3 picks of the Niners. And I'm like, this is bananas. This is the worst mock draft I've ever seen. Maybe it should go that way, but you obviously don't know John and Kyle, and they don't value offensive line at all.
They don't value offensive linemen at all.
No, they're not taking 2 in the first 3 picks. That's crazy.
My brother being a Dolphins fan, the one thing I noticed about, their coach, because he came from the 49ers system, Mike McDaniel, is they don't care about offensive line either. Skill position is all they care about. They draft skill position. They bring in skill position guys. Their mindset is like, well, we need to have guys that can touch the football. But you got to have offensive linemen that protect your quarterback so you guys can get to them, those players.
Yeah, because otherwise it doesn't matter.
Similar run mindset of an organization that is now defunct, and they revamped everything over there. Sorry, I keep bringing up the Dolphins, but they're when it comes to offensive line and the way they treat offensive line as an importance, like as a priority, it's very low on it was very low on the priority poll.
Yeah, and
the Niners are kind of in that same mindset too, where like they just don't see it as an important thing to do. But we'll see. The draft is what? 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. I'm excited for the draft this year, Mike. I'm really excited for the draft.
We'll see. I hope they just get a good player. Just get somebody good, please.
Mike, what if the Niners traded all their picks to get up in the top 10 and they went and get the best edge rusher in the draft? Would you be happy? I'm just randomly saying stuff.
I don't know. That might be. They might only hit on one pick anyway. So
exactly.
Whatever.
Do it. The coach. Ditka, they did the year that they drafted Ricky Williams, traded his whole draft for one player. Yeah. Remember that, Mas?
Oh man, yes.
Dumbest move in the history of sports. Like, he is such a clown show as a coach.
Trey Lance is right up there.
Yeah, the Trey Lance move is something that will forever follow the 49ers until they win a championship or 3.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. They gave John gave an update on Kittle, on Bosa, on Williams. It looks like Mike Williams. Is it Mike Williams? What am I?
Mykel
Williams and Nick Bosa will be ready by training camp, he said. And he expects Kittle to try to work towards being ready for week 1. That's insane.
And we need him. We're playing probably the Super Bowl favorite week 1.
Yeah.
So
We're
if
going to talk
Kittle
about that in a second about how
can go,
the Niners are one of the oft injured teams in the NFL, right? They have 3 players coming back from significant injuries. And what does the league do to them week 1? We're going to Australia.
yeah.
Kyle was asked about it, and Kyle didn't seem really that happy. Especially with the fact that me and you talked about this last week, how they don't have a bye week after the game.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're going to do it, I don't know, make it a Wednesday game. I don't know how you do it. Like, don't do it week 1, do it week 2, where you can make it a Monday game and then have it till they don't play till the following Thursday or something. You know what I mean?
I think it's better that they do it week 1, honestly, because they didn't just get done playing a game and then they're going to jump on a plane for that long with, because that, with inflammation and stuff, especially after getting banged up and, working out hard, your body's going to start inflaming, and you go up on a plane, that's going to make everything worse. So I would rather them go week 1, honestly, if they're going to do this. And I'm glad they did it week 1, because at least they'll be fresh, where they're not taking a round trip plane ride dealing with inflammation and all that stuff. They're only going one way.
Yeah.
And, so
I
think
it's early in the season too. So it's not like they have a bunch of games behind them.
Yeah.
They're going in fresh.
Yep.
It's still for a team that is dealing with that situation. It's not appealing for sure.
No, it's definitely not. And then they have another international game, right, in Mexico City, which is, I think that's going to be like a 5-hour flight or something.
Let's talk about that. So they were supposed to be playing the Broncos in that game. That will not be happening. The NFL said, no, too much of an advantage playing a team that has, especially with the elevation. I forget exactly what they said. I don't know if because Mexico City is high elevation.
It's higher than Denver, I think.
Okay. So they said that the Broncos would have an unfair advantage playing in that game against the 49ers. Oh. So it won't be the Denver Broncos playing in that game. I guess it's going to be 2 low-level teams.
So they want 2 teams to just die on there playing in Mount Everest.
Hey, at least they gave us something.
I know, right?
You're going to screw us and you're going to screw us and go make us play in freaking Australia the first game of the year. At least give us a team as an opponent who doesn't play in the mountains and we play ground level. You know what I mean? And like they're just walking, flying past us in the game and everybody's gasping for breath. So
because last year, where did they train at before or not last year, a couple years ago when they had the Mexico City game? Did they go to Denver like prior, or they went to like?
I don't remember.
They went somewhere to prepare for the high elevation for Mexico City, and then but I can't remember where. I think it was Denver because they had just gotten done playing over there or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But
yeah, I don't remember where they went and played. That is a good question. Good question. Yeah. We can move on here. Kyle Shanahan talked. So there was some talk going on in the end of the season by a couple of guys who are very popular Niner content creators. Grant Cohn, Larry Krueger. That there was going to be some trades, one of Ricky Pearsall and the other one Renardo Green. Neither of those things have happened so far. Kyle pretty much shot that down when it comes, or at least it wasn't Kyle. I think it might have been Lynch. But Kyle talked about the sideline situation in Seattle where he didn't play his assignment right and Kyle ripped his ass, and Kyle pretty much said like he has high hopes for him and he thinks it was a learning experience. So whatever me and you thought about like, oh, he's not taking Kyle seriously, he's brushing him off or this or that. As of now, Kyle is saying all the right things here in March about Renardo Green. I like Renardo Green as a player. Is he going to be one of the greatest corners of all time in 49er history? No. Is he a solid corner if you have a pass rush? Yeah. You know what I mean? If they actually have a freaking pass rush, I think he's good enough to cover.
Yeah.
No, if you're like a standard average corner and you have to play on a defense that doesn't ever have any pass rush and you don't have any elite skills as a corner, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Like even Deion Sanders, I mean, he'll run all over the field with guys, but like there's only so many seconds that you can run around chasing somebody and covering them before you get tired or they make a move that leaves you in the dirt. So I'm okay with the Renardo Green situation. Unless there was a player that was going to come in here that was going to set the world on fire. I mean, they brought in Hobbs, the free agent from Green Bay who played in with the Raiders. They said that they were trying to get him a couple of years ago because of his versatility about being able to play inside and outside, which is, I think that's an under the radar move that we made this offseason. Mike was bringing in Hobbs.
Really?
Yeah. Because we already have Upton Stout, who played really well last year, right?
Yeah.
And then you have your two starters, and then you have it's not Darrell Luter who's going to be your backup corner. It's going to be a guy like Hobbs, a veteran player. Yeah, he struggled in Green Bay, but he really did well with the Raiders. Yeah. So, players have bad years. Players struggle. Maybe they go into a different scheme that doesn't fit them. I'm glad it's just not Darrell Luter that's going to be out there or anybody else.
Yeah.
Like, man, so that was a sneaky good move that they made in the offseason. I really like the Hobbs move, and I'm happy that they're keeping Green. What do you think about all of that?
Yeah,
for a while.
It seems like I'm hoping Kyle and Green, they put their differences aside, and Green realized, he's the player, Kyle's the coach. You can't front him off like that on, national TV and on a playoff game, act like you're better than everybody. But it seems like, he's had a couple posts on social media recently showing like he's like motivated to play and like prove people wrong. So I'm hoping it pans out. I mean, obviously, as a Niner fan, you want all these players to turn out good. And like you said, if we can get some pass rush, it should help. I don't think he's terrible. I think he's an average corner, and we could use him. And hopefully some pass rush will up his play.
I think the pass rush will help everybody's play. I mean, the Niners don't really have a dynamic number one corner. I mean, Demo's pretty good, but Demo struggled last year. He struggled a lot. He talked a lot. But I don't know, man. I chalk up a lot of last year's defensive struggle just to the fact that they had nobody up front, man. They just didn't have anybody up front.
Of course, Demo's going to struggle. You can't cover for 20 seconds.
I just feel like the defense. One part of the defense affects the other. Like the pass rush could be really good, but if you have an awful secondary you can't cover, then they're going to get exposed if you get any type of pass protection.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a average to slightly above average secondary with a really good pass rush can really do some things.
Yeah,
and
we saw it the first couple of weeks, right before the injuries started getting too crazy. The defense was wrecking shop quite a bit.
Right.
So.
And that little bit of part in the season where we started, where Bosa and Mykel and everybody, we looked pretty good early on. But it lasted like one game, and then the injury ticker tape parade of injuries just started down the line. I want to talk about Kyle and John's jobs. They asked Jed about it, and Jed pretty much gave John and Kyle both kind of the thumbs up, but he did mention people eventually, if they wanted to move, go somewhere else, whatever. He's okay with that too. But it sounds, and I'm going to play a Kyle soundbite too that kind of echoes the same sentiment. But I'll play Jed first.
He would hate that so much. I couldn't imagine him doing television. But I thought he did great on the Super Bowl. I think he did a really good job. I think Kyle's got 3 years left. Mm-hmm. I mean, I want Kyle to be here for a long time. He's been here for a long time. I want him to be here even longer. Mm-hmm. JL, I think I think it's this year and next, but I don't know off the top of my head. Like, I want JL to be here for a long time. But it's really, what do those guys want to do? Right, when you sit down and have conversations after 10 years, like where do you want to be? What is your life like, and how do you see it? And do you want to re-up to be a part of the 49ers? Do you want to do something else in our organization in a different place? I don't know the answer, but I have a great relationship with both those guys, and I hope they're here and they're with me and the 49ers and our family for a very long time.
What are things?
That was an interesting thing that he said, a different place in our organization, when I think he was referring to John Lynch. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it kind of gives him like, if things don't work out, John always he always has another spot in the organization that he can go to. If it's not general manager, but for him to say, oh, he's got 1 or 2 years, I don't really remember. Like, you better remember, like, what if this was his last year on contract and you have to re-up it? But John York seems like he's separating himself from the 49ers a little bit more. And
You think so?
Oh, he even said it himself. He's like, I didn't know we signed Christian Kirk. I had no idea. And I saw Kyle talk about it, and I'm like, oh, that's tampering. And then I'm like, oh, wait, we did sign him. But he's like, I was watching a soccer game in London or something or whatever. He's like, so I don't know what's going on. He's like, I give them free range. He's like, I'm always busy. We have other what's the word he used, like expenditures or something that he's focusing on, and so he can't focus 100% on the 49ers all the time. So I'm like,
Jed should be focusing on the 49ers 100% of the time.
That's what kind of pissed me off. But I'm like, I don't know if it's a good thing that he's not all up in the mix and he just kind of lets John and Kyle do their thing. I mean, I don't want him to be a Jerry Jones either, right? Where he's just running the show himself. So I don't know. I mean, Jed has his eyes on bigger things right now.
Oh, I mean, if he wants to give, I mean, is there someone else in their family that can run the organization? And then his parents, can somebody else take over if he doesn't want to be here anymore?
I don't think you want anybody in that family running that organization.
No, Jed's the only one. I like Jed.
Yeah.
Listen, it was a fair question. I wonder if he was just caught off guard by it. But I think John and Kyle, I wouldn't say they have a lifetime kind of cachet with the 49ers. I think Kyle does, regardless if he never wins the Super Bowl. I feel like John maybe has a little bit less of that, but I think he loves those guys so much because of the stability they've bringing. They've transformed the way the Niners were viewed from when they first came in here, because the Niners had a pretty low image around the league. We talked about that earlier, about the Niners are looked at as one of the premier franchises in the league, regardless of they won Super Bowls or not lately. And I think John and Kyle have a lot to do with that. So I think for that, he owes them a lot of gratitude. But as far as Kyle goes, and I'm going to bring his video up in a second, I think Kyle has kind of a lifelong whatever with this team, because we've said before, and that one guy that was in the chat, that one stream we did where he was like, and I was like, dude, you keep saying stupid crap about like this guy doesn't deserve to be here. Like, give me somebody. If you're going to say that this guy is no longer the coach and
who are you going to replace him with?
You got to give me a viable name. And he couldn't give me a viable name, and I had to call him out on it. So here's the Kyle clip, pretty much talking about the same thing. He's talking about really about his own job. I think he dabbles a little bit into the doing the commentating.
You're going into year 10, which is a pretty big mile marker for any franchise. What's your how do you foresee your future, and how much longer do you want to stay coaching? You got into TV, Super Bowl a little bit, coaching flag football. What do you? What's your future here in the next few years?
Well, those other two options I don't think are the best options for me. So I think I'm going to stick with my first one as long as I'll have it. So I'm good at coaching. I love coaching. Even though I look like I've aged 10 years, because I basically have aged 10 years. But I still feel good. My family still loves it. I think they would kill me if I was home a lot more. So we got a good balance. I love being with the Niners.
Do you enjoy doing the TV stuff though?
I did. I mean, it was a cool group of guys to hang around. I think I'd enjoy it more the second time. I was a little out of my element, so like I probably had some anxiety about it, a little more than usual, because I didn't know what to do. And the hardest thing was they kept asking questions, and I want to answer them, but I'm like, man, I still work in this league. I have to play against these people, and that was the hardest thing for me. I couldn't just talk, because you have to be somewhat strategic. You want to say something that actually makes sense, but you don't want to say something that helps anybody. So that was my biggest stress.
That's interesting, Mike, that he's still a coach in the league, and he has to be careful talking about other teams, because teams might take that as disrespect or whatever. I kind of remember when they asked Montana about why he left doing TV after 1 year, and he said that one of the things as a player is when people on TV would talk about things like they know it in the organization, and it turns out they don't. Montana said he never wanted to be the guy that talked as if he knew what was going on with certainty about something going on in the league when it really wasn't the case. And I think that with Kyle too, it's like you got to be really careful what you say because I mean, we saw last year with the soundbite that got freaking what Robert Saleh said about the coach in Jacksonville, and that turned into a big kerfuffle in the middle of the field. Which, if Saleh had a chance to get a piece of that guy, would have whooped his ass. But
Yeah,
and there's another hero there. People are finicky. These people are sensitive, in this job. So Kyle did the right thing. I don't want to ever see him in the booth. He belongs on the sideline with the 49ers.
The field, yeah.
As long as they can have him. And that's all I got to say about that. Any thoughts on anything? Like, what's your thoughts on the whole coaching thing? How do you feel about Kyle?
No, Kyle's Kyle. Every coach is going to have their flaw. Okay. And Kyle, sometimes his flaws show up in the biggest moments, but you don't get there without Kyle, right?
Nope.
Like, you'll never even get to those big moments without him. So unless there is a, incredible coach available, I don't even know who, like, I don't know. Like, Kyle, to me, he's great. We're stuck with him. Not that we're stuck with him, but like, I want him to be the coach of my team, and I want him to get his Super Bowl. He deserves it more than anybody for how hard he works, for how smart he is, his reputation around the league, his reputation around other players, other coaches. And I don't want to trade. If I saw him leave, I would be absolutely heartbroken. And I hope he stays around for a long time and brings us some hardware.
Yeah. Kenny said that, to be fair, no matter how long it takes, it's hard to win a Super Bowl. It's super hard to win a Super Bowl. Like, it's just, the Niners have just been snake bitten the times that they've been there. I think, just look at Andy Reid's career before he had Patrick Mahomes. How many times was Reid talked about as being a guy that came up small in the biggest moments when he was coach of the Eagles? A lot. And then all of a sudden you have a Hall of Fame quarterback who can run around for 55 seconds and then throw a touchdown, falling down backwards with his feet off the ground. You know what I mean? Like, all this crazy stuff that Mahomes does. Sometimes it's just the perfect mix. Maybe, I hate to say this, Niner fans, but maybe he stays here and we never win, and then he goes to another squad who has a Hall of Fame quarterback and they go and win 2 Super Bowls. That's just the way it goes sometimes. It sucks that has to be that way. I hope it's never that way. I hope it's here that he wins. But what he did last year with the roster that we had last year, with all the injuries, to me, that was masterclass coaching at its best.
Yes.
Like, he took a team on defense literally full of guys that were not even playing games in week 1 and were on NFL fields in week 17 or 18. Like, you can't, who does that?
Playing for the 1 seed. You know what I mean?
Playing for the 1 seed. Did I ever think they would, realistically get the 1 seed? No. But the fact that they were in that position, yeah, you got to give credit to the players, but you got to give credit to a coach that's able to work with whatever he's got. So I'm all good with him for as long as he wants to stay. Hopefully they win a Super Bowl, though, soon. There was some coaching staff announcement of like the coaching staff as it stands now. This was released today, so we'll take a look at it. Let me take the comment off of screen. So Cameron Clemens, tight ends coach, former Bears head coach Matt Eberflus, assistant head coach defense. Micah Forrester, seasonal coaching assistant. I've never heard of that before. Joe Graves, run game coordinator. Jerry Gray, defensive passing game coordinator. Leonard Hankerson, passing game coordinator, wide receivers. Johnny Holland, linebacker guy for years, is now defensive run game coordinator. We were talking about that off stream. That's weird.
Very weird.
Angel Matul. Was it Matt Tool? Matute. I can't see. Defensive quality control. And then we got Raheem Morris, of course, defensive coordinator. Roman Sapolo, Jesse Sapolo's son, I think. Assistant offensive line. That's crazy. Deuce Schwartz, offensive assistant tight ends. Jacob Webster, offensive line assistant quarterbacks. And then KJ Wright is now the new linebackers coach. The KJ Wright one and the Johnny Holland one is interesting, man.
Yeah, I didn't know that they made that change. But yeah, Johnny Holland, he's He's Mr. Linebackers coach. That's
Yeah.
what he's known for. So I don't know. Is that a promotion? Like what?
Question.
Like
Or
I
is
don't
it a
know what.
demotion from last
Yeah,
year? Because they
no,
were
I
bad last
honestly
year.
I don't know what that title means. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he's there to mentor KJ White, like as a linebackers coach. But I don't
I
know.
think maybe they have he has aspirations to be a head coach, and so he's taking on different responsibilities.
Who, Johnny Holland or KJ
Yeah,
White?
Johnny
No,
Holland.
no. Johnny Holland has no aspirations to be a
No
head coach.
aspirations.
No.
That's
No,
interesting. Then why they moved him?
I think they're trying to find a way to get KJ promoted. So they created another title for Johnny Holland and probably use that so that KJ can get his promotion. Because I think they really see him as like the next D'Amico in the works.
Yeah, it's funny that we got an ex-Seattle Seahawk.
Yeah.
Up in our ranks at defensive, our defense. He was an interesting hire a couple of years ago that I thought was intriguing.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's making moves, man. They must really be impressed with what he does.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. You say what you want about the Niners, but they always seem to produce quality assistants, and guys that end up getting jobs. I mean,
Yep.
The Bill Walsh tree produced a lot of stuff, and then there was offshoots to the normal guys that it produced. And I feel like the same with the Shanahan and the Kubiak line is like there's these it's awesome to see in the league that like all these years later, like Kubiak's not really coaching in the league anymore, neither is Papa Shanahan, but their influence is still being felt, just like Walsh was for many years. So I think that's pretty cool, man.
For sure.
Pretty freaking awesome. Oh man, what else we got here? We've pretty much banged out everything.
There was one little nugget I don't know if you caught from Jed York today.
No,
but he kind of let it slip out because somebody actually asked the question. Remember, we were talking about this last week about the Niners, not being in a tax-friendly state for free agents. And actually somebody asked him about that. And they said, hey, do you think that has any influence on, free agent signing here or whatever? He's like, no, I mean, there was one guy we had this year that made it an issue. He went to Tennessee. I can't remember his name. That was John Franklin Myers. So we lost out on a top free agent on a very, very, very good player due to the state taxes. So I think that was like a little nugget that kind of flew under the radar, but it brought attention to me because we were talking about that last week. And
he
who
was
knows
like
how many other ones that we've lost to about that. So
yeah, it sucks to live in California. I mean, guys got taxed for playing the Super Bowl in California. A guy like Sam Darnold for all the money he lost for playing the Super Bowl in California. That's ridiculous, man.
Yeah. But it's not only joining us, right? It's because you're going to be playing the Rams as well. So you're going to get taxed there. And then now Seattle's going to implement their tax. And now you're going to get hit, twice a year in our own division just because of the teams that we play in the division that we're in.
I don't understand why they don't make
adjusted salary cap.
Yeah, like an adjusted thing for teams in California. Like it's not fair.
It's almost they need to. I don't know how that's not being brought up at the owners meeting.
Like every team has a 305 salary cap, but the Niners have like 335 or something. Like when you offset it, like
just adjust it based on tax, like a flat tax across the board, right?
That's insane. That is insane. Now, kind of makes sense why the Niners tend to lose out on always like the top guys. Maybe it's
that's why I'm kind of like when they lowball guys, I'm like, I don't think they're really in that position to lowball because they're actually costing them quite a lot of money if you think about it. When it adds up, like if they put all that money in a contract, let's say a 4-year contract or something, and that adds up to be like $16 million difference and compared to playing somewhere like in Florida, you put that in an index fund or whatever, and in 10 years that can multiply into like $100 million. So, you know what I mean? It's like there's actually like a lot of money lost there.
Or they could tell the player if you play here that there's going to be, like you said, maybe they accrue money in some sort of 401k or some sort of something that they can take a crack at after they've been in the league 10 years or something. I don't know. It's just crazy that they have to to fight the state tax. California is a beautiful place to live. I mean, you live in California. The guys on the Cover 3 podcast, I live in California. My guy Bashar in the chat, my buddy, who I've known for 6 years being on YouTube. He lives. Everybody lives in California except for me. I live in New York. I live in Bills country. Okay, you guys don't understand how hard it is to live in Bills country. Bills fans are the most obnoxious, arrogant, most just nauseating fan base.
Okay, are they worse than Giants fans?
Yes.
New York Giants fans? Okay.
Oh, they're the worst.
Okay.
They're the worst. Move to California? I can't, man. I got a house out here. I just, man, it would have been nice. It just sucks because, like, Bill, if you go to the grocery store, I used to work for this grocery chain that I quit. And as soon as the preseason or whatever starts, it's just Bill stuff, right? And everybody's really, really bullish on the Bills. Every time the Bills lose, I can't tell you how fast they take down that stuff.
Oh,
they have
really?
these like little tents, these little like tents with the plastic little, things, and they got like ketchup and the burgers, and like they have like a case with like burger meat, buns, ketchup, mustard, all this stuff, all these like tailgate things. Literally the day the season ends, they're like, clean all that stuff out of here because they're a bunch of sore losers. I got into a conversation with one of my best friends growing up, who's he's a Commanders fan, but he's been to Bills games, so he has this like affinity for the Bills. He lives in Buffalo.
Okay.
And so we were talking about the Bills last year. I know this is a Niners channel. People relax. So we were talking about the Bills last year, and I told him, I was like, the quarterback choked. He's like, he didn't choke. I'm like, yeah, he choked. He's like, well, I was like, because he's the same guy that always would say it's all about winning championships. And I'm a Montana guy. He told me that Brady was the guy and that I needed to accept it, all this other shit, right? So we were talking about how Super Bowls are the only thing that matters. But then he made an excuse for Josh Allen and says that essentially that doesn't apply. And I'm like, dude, he had the most perfect situation last year for him. Everybody was out of the way.
Doesn't get any easier than that.
And he completely had 4 turnovers in one game. Yep. So, yeah.
Bills hey, you know who else is not a fan of the Bills and Josh Allen? Mike Evans.
Apparently not. Suckers. They have a better. Hey, their quarterback's better than ours, and I could say that and not be like a dick about it, but like that's a good indictment on Purdy, like a positive indictment. You know what I mean?
Very good indictment.
Last thing that was brought up today that I thought was interesting is that they asked Jed York about Brandon Ayuk, and they asked John about it, and and they talked about like they're not in a rush to make a decision, blah blah blah, right? They asked Jed about it, kind of said the same thing, but then he made a comment like, but I don't want to ever say no to him with the possibility of him coming back and playing for the 49ers. Can you see in any form or fashion him ever playing for this team?
This is the biggest nothing burger. That's just all talk because
Jed just being Jed.
Yeah, Jed being Jed, and he's trying to get a draft pick for him. So they're like, oh, well, we could hold on to him.
That's a good point, Mike.
So, you know what I mean? Like, no, it's there's nothing behind that whatsoever. Brandon Ayuk will never wear this emblem ever again.
I just think it's kind of funny that like people are mad at the Niners for holding on to him. Like, why?
Hell no. Hold up, dude. It's almost worth it to like never let him play football again.
I would hold on to him until after training camp.
The last minute you possibly could. And then
so that I want to hold on to him as long as possible and then stick him and like, all right, go find a team after the 53-man roster cuts.
Exactly.
They don't owe him anything.
Yeah, that's what you do to a quitter.
Yeah, he's a quitter, dude. Straight up. Yep. BA would sit. Yeah, Laurie. I don't think Laurie's a fan of him coming back either. Nobody is. Nobody wants that asshole to come to the Titans team.
No,
kiss my ass. Freaking pouty quitter, weirdo, freaking strange body language. Just like I never liked his personality to begin with, but I was okay because he was a decent player. But man, when they're not playing it,
I like that.
Bayuk. Holding on to Ayuk benefits him if he actually does get traded because he'll get the same salary. But yeah, he's a quitter. Well said, Bash. But that's going to do it, everybody, for this Monday show. 49ers Unfiltered. I am Aaron. That is Mike. This is 49ers Unfiltered. Till next time, everybody. Peace.